Let's move on now to an important case in the Pretoria North Regional Court. A man called Jaco Swart was fined 20,000 rand, given a suspended prison sentence for repeatedly hitting and kicking his wife. The assault was caught on video. Now, this afternoon, I sat down at around lunchtime to try and watch parts of it, just to make sure I understood exactly what happened. And in the end, had to skip over most of it. I must tell you, if you come across that video online, don't look at it. It's very difficult to watch. It goes on for some time, the assault. And the astonishing part of it all, certainly to me, is that there is clear evidence of what this man did. And yet this man, let me say his name again, Jaco Swart, has not been given a jail term, just a suspended term and a fine. Lebo Ramafoko is a gender activist, executive director at Oxfam. Lebo, good afternoon to you. It's a horrible video to even have to glance at how this man, Jaco Swart, just got a fine. I mean, he'll pay his fine and have no other punishment. How do you feel about it?
Yeah, I mean, Stephen, thank you for having me. I think the example that you are talking about speaks about some of the challenges that we have, especially with women trusting the criminal justice system to protect them, and also saying that they will find recourse when they report. And so when you see many women who don't report any cases of violence, this is exactly what they are afraid of. There are sadly so many stories where the criminal justice system, the courts, are really not taking this issue seriously. And I think when we are talking about accountability, we must then ask ourselves, if there is no accountability from the criminal justice system, when the president, when the other ministers come out and they say we condemn, we speak strongly, and they use all of these words, whether or not such actions are actually actions that are going to change. And sadly, as you say, this is not actions that are going to change. I think a lot needs to be done in this country, not only for talk, but also for action.
I mean, astonishingly, the outcome is the fine after the organization AfriForum. Lots of people have lots to say about AfriForum, but they got involved because the estranged wife had nowhere else to go. And even after their legal intervention, this still happened. This has been happening for many years. I mean, we've all seen the stories. Magistrates who let sex offenders off with a fine, even though I think they're mandatory minimums for those offences. I remember one High Court judge who got promoted, who basically let someone off with a very easy sentence. Why? I mean, is it just male judges and magistrates who do this?
I think in a country that systematically has shown that there are no consequences for actions, whether it's consequences at the top, at government level, whether it's consequences at a police station, whether it's consequences at local government level, whether it's consequences in, various spheres of life, you can see this happening. This happens because people know that they can get away with it. People know that all this talk that we have had is basically all talk and no action. But also people know the weaknesses in the system. We are having a criminal justice system from the point of investigating to the point of presenting cases, to the point of just making sure that women get justice. We have seen how everything is in shambles. And then, of course, this is backed up and it exists within a very toxic masculinity, a very patriarchal society where male judges, male police, and even female police, because patriarchy can be supported by men and women, will have so many judgmental things to say to women when they come and report cases. We have seen a video also going viral of a man beating up a woman in a police cell. We are having loads and loads of violence, just general violence, that our police are not able to cope with. And as you know, when a woman has died, the minister will go for the cameras, he will go and pictures will be taken. But in fact, we are not seeing the kind of seriousness and the kind of resources, training, consequence management that women need to make sure that these sentences are not given.
Do we need to, I mean, everybody wants to change the law, Lebo, and we've tried to change the law. We changed the Sexual Offences Act, 12 years ago. I don't know if it had the impact that we wanted it to have. Do we need to actually have mandatory minimum sentences? If there is video of a man hitting and kicking a woman he should go to jail. That's it. End of story. Finish and clap.
I think, and I'm very cynical when we, and my cynicism is not informed by anything else but what in practice it means when you keep on changing laws, but you don't have accountability. I can say yes. The simplest thing is that let's have minimum sentences. But we have seen what happens when a man who is accused of rape or violence has all the lawyers that they can have, and they've got the financial muscle to be able to argue their case. They may win the case. And then what do you do with that? I think that there is a lot that needs to be done around, and a question that we need to ask ourselves about, is there political will and is there accountability of all of these judges and all of these magistrates and everybody else in the value chain around dealing with violence against women? And I don't think that we have it at this point in time. So my issue is, how many laws are you going to have to pass until you get political will? Can political will, and when I say political will, I'm not talking about political will from politicians. I am talking about whoever manages, what is the Minister of Justice doing? Are they even doing some form of evaluation of these cases that comes before the courts? Who handles them? What is their attitudes? How many have a track record of letting these men come out of jail? How are we then linking that with their own performance? What are the consequences when you are a judge that is known to basically let men like this scot-free, And that for me is accountability, because these laws, without anybody held accountable for implementing them. When we had the Domestic Violence Act passed, we thought this is such a victory. How many laws? Yes, we must improve on our laws, we must tighten our laws, but when there is no consequence management, when you don't have the resources at the courts, when investigations are done poorly, how do these laws really, really affect you? I would like to know from the minister, have you gone to each and every court and understood of every case that gets reported? What is the track record of the various judges, the various magistrates that preside over these cases? What are some of the things that they do? Because I can tell you, if this was a case about racism, people would be in uproar. They would have said, how could you let somebody go off like this? We have seen how some judges, have gotten into trouble for some of their own attitudes. But it seems as if for violence against women, that level of accountability is missing.
Lebo Ramafoko, thank you so much. Do appreciate it. The latest there on the Jaco Swart case.